Hi everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Thing. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. If you like what you see and you want to see similar videos in the future, let us know in the comments. And if you think that we should just stick to video games, that's fine too. Anyway, let's get to it. After a wacky Week 17 around the NFL, the expanded playoff field is officially set. We've got some perennial contenders, some new faces, and some teams that probably didn't deserve to make it this far. Well, at this point, it's a 14-team battle for the Lombardi Trophy, so we're going to be giving our picks and predictions for every game from Wild Card Weekend all the way up to the Super Bowl. This year, there are 6 Wild Card games in total, and then one team from each conference that gets a first-round bye. In the divisional round, that first seed will face the lowest remaining seed in their conference, and then the other 2 remaining teams will play against each other. Let's get started by picking the AFC wildcard games. First up, we have the 5-seed Baltimore Ravens at the 4-seed Tennessee Titans. The Titans stunned the Ravens last year with a dominant victory, but I think that this year Baltimore manages to get their revenge. Tennessee's defense is incredibly leaky, and they've allowed bad teams to march up and down the field against them. They have virtually no pass rush, and I think Lamar Jackson is going to exploit that to no end. Now, Derrick Henry is still a very good running back, and Ryan Tannehill has proven to be a very good QB, but Baltimore has been on fire the past few weeks, sort of the same way the Titans were at this time last year, and I don't think Tennessee is going to be able to stop them. Next, we have the 6-seed Cleveland Browns at the 3-seed Pittsburgh Steelers, 2 teams that really have not looked great as of late. The Steelers have dropped 4 of their last 5, and Ben Roethlisberger is really showing his age every time he throws the football. As for Cleveland, they nearly missed out on their first playoff appearance in 18 years because of a terrible loss to the Jets, before barely squeezing past backup players in Week 17 to make the playoffs. These AFC North matchups are rough and nasty every single time, and we're definitely in for an exciting matchup. The Browns definitely have a brighter future than the Steelers, but I think Big Ben is going to put a dagger in the Browns' hopes one last time. Pittsburgh defense and overall playoff experience is just going to be too much for Cleveland to overcome, and the Steelers are going to advance to the divisional round. The final wildcard matchup in the AFC is the 7-seed Indianapolis Colts at the 2-seed Buffalo Bills. I think we're in for a pretty good game here between 2 very good football teams. Indy has looked solid all year against playoff caliber competition on the strength of a great defense and offensive line. But I think it's the Bills who will come away with this one. I'm not sure if it's possible for a 13-3 2-seed to be underrated, but I really don't think people realize just how good Buffalo is. Maybe it's because they're a small market, maybe it's because they haven't really built up a reputation of success over the years, but they could beat any team in football right now. They had 2 losses early in the season at the hands of great Titans and Chiefs teams, but ever since then, they've looked as good as anyone, aside from a loss on a freak Hail Mary pass to the Cardinals. Josh Allen has truly taken that next step into being a franchise quarterback, and Stephon Diggs is, as always, one of the best receivers in the league. As for Buffalo's defense, as long as they can put pressure on Phillip Rivers, the Colts' offense will be pretty ineffective. The Bills will win their first playoff game since before Josh Allen was born to advance to the divisional round. Now for the NFC wildcard games. First off, we've got the 5-seed Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 4-seed Washington Football Team. Washington is one of 3 teams in NFL history to qualify for the playoffs with a losing record, winning the NFC East at 7-9. With a record as bad as they had and a name as ridiculous as Football Team, it's easy to overlook them, but they're really no pushover. In games where Alex Smith, the current quarterback, was the starter, they actually went 4-1. And that's not even accounting for the other side of the ball, with Chase Young anchoring an elite defensive line. As for Tampa, they're bursting at the seams with talent on offense. Tom Brady, Gronkowski, Fournette, you name it. Just to give you an idea of how good they are, Antonio Brown is their number 3 receiver. number 3. Insane. Anyway, as we've seen this year, the key to beating Tampa is to pressure Tom Brady, and I think Washington certainly has the tools to do so. However, the Buccaneers are just so freaking talented on offense, and I think as the playoffs roll around, all those weapons and pieces are starting to click together. It'll be tight, but Tampa Bay will move on to the divisional round, beating Washington. Next, we've got the 6 seed LA Rams at the 3 seed Seattle Seahawks. Unfortunately, if you haven't heard, there's a little global pandemic going on right now, so Seattle won't have their famous crowd noise to give them a home field advantage. But I think the Seahawks are gonna win comfortably with or without the so-called 12th man. Los Angeles is quite possibly going to be starting backup QB John Wolford, a man who hadn't played at an NFL game until last week. And even if Jared Goff recovers from his thumb injury in time for the game, he's not that good either. The Seahawks, meanwhile, have a defense that's rapidly improving and a top 5 quarterback in Russell Wilson who can win you a game all by himself. Seattle moves on to the divisional round. Finally, the 7 seed Chicago Bears at the 2 seed New Orleans Saints. When the NFL expanded the playoffs to 14 teams, many fans worried that the quality of the playoffs would be diluted, and so far they seem to be right. The Bears fell backwards into the postseason with an 8-8 record, and nobody in their right mind, including me, a Bears fan, thinks they deserve to be here. But in the NFL, anything can happen. The Bears played the Saints tough in a 26-23 overtime loss earlier this year, and that was when Nick Foles was the starting quarterback and the offense was far, far worse than it is now. 41-year-old Drew Brees isn't going to beat your defense with deep passes anymore, and the Saints have historically had a knack for choking in the playoffs.
Pass is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable!
I think the Bears go into the Superdome and pull off the shocking upset. And because they'll be the lowest remaining seed, that'll set up a date with Green Bay at Lambeau the next week. Just one quick thing I forgot to mention. Aside from the normal broadcast on CBS, the Bears-Saints game is also going to be on Nickelodeon, and you better believe that's the one I'm going to be watching. Yeah, like SpongeBob. Even if you don't like football, Matt Nagy getting slimed, sign me up. Alright, so the divisional round. Anyway, as I was saying, Chicago's gonna go to Green Bay. I can see it now. 5 seconds left. Snow flurries falling, Trubisky takes the snap, pressure comes, he rolls out of the pocket. Fires a bullet to Robinson in the middle of the field, and Robinson pitches it back to Cole Kmet as he goes down. Kmet keeps going. Kmet with the stiff arm. Kmet launches a lateral to David Montgomery on the opposite sideline. Montgomery makes a man miss. Montgomery gets a block. Montgomery gets another block. 20, 15, 10. David Montgomery. He is going to go all the way for a Chicago Bears touchdown with double zeros on the clock. And that'll make the final score. Chicago 7, Green Bay 50. Now we head to the West Coast as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on Seattle for a chance to advance to the conference championship. Now, if anybody can go to CenturyLink Field in the playoffs and win, it's this Brady-led Buccaneer team. Yeah, the Bucs are capable of beating anyone in the league, but their problem is consistency. Even though they've got a star-studded roster, it feels like they never really gelled together. I don't know if it was the pandemic or what, but one week they'll blow out the Packers, then the next week they'll lose to the Bears. Seahawks, on the other hand, are the definition of consistent. They haven't had a losing season since 2011, and they've made the playoffs all but 1 year since then. A lot of that is thanks to Russell Wilson. Now, I can go on and on about him, but he can scramble and pass inside and outside the pocket. He doesn't turn the ball over very much, he's efficient, and he's done it all without a ton of great weapons, at least before DK Metcalf's recent emergence. Could the Buccaneers win? Sure. But I think the Seahawks defense will be able to limit Tampa's vertical attack just enough to give Wilson the opportunity to win it. Seattle goes to Lambeau for the NFC Championship. Over in the AFC, we have the Steelers at the Bills. The Bills beat Pittsburgh 26-15 just a few weeks ago, and I don't see things going much different this time around. The Steelers just haven't looked great lately. They feasted on bad teams early in the season, but at this point they're looking injured and tired on offense and defense. The playoffs are all about momentum, and the Steelers just don't have any of it. Pittsburgh has the worst rushing offense in the NFL, averaging only 84 yards on the ground per game, while Big Ben's 60.8 passer rating doesn't inspire confidence as far as throwing goes. With such an erratic offense, the game will come down to the vaunted Steeler defense, but the Bills' pass-heavy attack will be able to wear them down just enough to advance to the AFC Championship. The final divisional matchup, according to our predictions, will be the Ravens at the Chiefs. Just looking aside from the fact that the Chiefs had one of the most talented quarterbacks ever, a great coach, and superstars on offense and defense, they have one big advantage over Baltimore: the first-round bye. Looking back at previous seasons, having a bye has proven time and time again to be a massive advantage. And with only one team getting a bye per conference in the new playoff format, it's a bigger deal than ever. Since 1990, 60 teams have played in the Super Bowl. 48 of those teams had a first-round bye. On paper, the Chiefs are still the better team, bye or no bye, but this extra week of rest will give the Chiefs plenty of time to heal up and prepare for the game, while the Ravens are still trying to recover from the wildcard round. The Chiefs will beat the Ravens at home to set up a matchup with the Bills in the AFC Championship. About that AFC Championship, this game will be the ultimate test for the up-and-coming Bills. Can they hang with the defending Super Bowl champs with a trip to the big game on the line? I'm gonna say no. The Bills are certainly a team on the rise, but they're just not on the Chiefs' level yet. Neither offense will have trouble scoring points, as Buffalo and Kansas City are the top two teams in the NFL in terms of total yardage. And although the Kansas City defense has some playmakers, overall they've been a little suspect down the stretch. I think the Chiefs are going to come out on top because I just trust Patrick Mahomes more in those critical moments. This game is going to come down to a couple plays, and I think Josh Allen is just a little more mistake-prone than Mahomes. A timely interception by Tyrann Mathieu or a forced fumble by Damian Wilson will seal the deal. Chiefs go to their second Super Bowl in as many years. In the NFC Championship, the Seahawks will try to top the Packers in a rivalry that's produced a lot of crazy memories over the years. Green Bay and Seattle have met 5 times in the playoffs, and every game has been won by the home team. I'm expecting that trend to continue into 2021 as Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers will beat Seattle in a close one to advance to the Super Bowl. That guy from the State Farm commercials has been having an MVP caliber year, and although the Seahawks secondary featuring Jamal Adams has been a greatly improved unit over the latter half of the season, nobody has really found a way to stop Rodgers and Davante Adams yet. Green Bay has a pretty solid secondary of their own, and although the Seahawks might be able to find some success on the ground, it won't be enough to beat Green Bay. Alright, it's finally time for the big prediction. Packers versus Chiefs. The quarterback of the past versus the quarterback of the future. The two State Farm spokespeople. Imagine the storylines. The networks are peeing their pants right now just thinking about it. It's a battle of number 1 seeds, and for better or for worse, that's probably going to become a lot more common now that the 1 seeds are the only teams that get a first round bye. Good news is, it'll probably be a great game. So who's going to win? I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to become the first team to win back-to-back Super Bowls since the Patriots in 03 and 04. In the end, the Chiefs have more dynamic offensive weapons, and I think Green Bay's run defense will prove to be their Achilles heel. Alright, those are my full predictions for the 2021 NFL playoffs. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Go Bears.